The Fugitive is a 1993 American action thriller film, directed by Andrew Davis, with a script co-written by Jeb Stewart and David Twohy, from a previous story draft which Twohy had written. Based on the 1960s TV series, itself loosely inspired by the trial of Sam Shepard, the film stars Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, Sela Ward, Joe Pantoliano, Andreas Katsoulas, and Jeroen Krabbe. After being framed for the murder of his wife and sentenced to death, vascular surgeon Dr. Richard Kimball, Ford, escapes from custody following a bus crash. Kimball sets out to find the real killer and clear his name, while being hunted by the police and a team of U.S. Marshals, led by Deputy Samuel Gerard Jones. The Fugitive premiered in Westwood, California, on July 29, 1993, and was released in the United States on August 6, 1993. It was a critical and commercial success, spending 6 weeks as the #1 film in the United States, and grossing nearly $370 million worldwide against a $44 million budget. It was the third highest grossing film of 1993 worldwide, with an estimated 44 million tickets sold in the United States. It was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Tommy Lee Jones won for Best Supporting Actor. It was followed by the 1998 film U.S. Marshals, in which Jones reprised his role as Deputy Marshal Sam Gerard, along with some others of his earlier Marshals team. Plot: in Chicago, vascular surgeon Dr. Richard Kimball is arrested for the murder of his wife, Helen. Despite his insisting he caught a man with a prosthetic arm in the act, the lack of forced entry into the house, Helen's misinterpreted 911 call, and a substantial life insurance policy all serve as evidence against Kimball, resulting him being convicted of her murder and sentenced to death. En route to prison, Kimball's fellow prisoners stage an escape. In the chaos, the driver is shot dead and their bus crashes into the path of an oncoming train. Kimball risks his life to pull a wounded officer to safety before fleeing the resulting wreck. In response, relentless and uncompromising Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard and his staff arrive at the scene and launch a manhunt. Meanwhile, Kimball sneaks into a hospital to treat his injuries and disguises his appearance. The wounded officer is brought to the hospital and recognizes Kimball, who escapes with an ambulance. The marshals block Kimball's path, so he slips into a storm drain, pursued by Gerard. Kimball asserts his innocence, but Gerard responds that he does not care. Cornered at the end of a steep dam spillway, Kimball makes the dangerous jump into the waters below to escape. Driven to find his wife's killer, Kimball returns to Chicago and acquires some cash from his friend, Dr. Charles Nichols. Posing as a janitor, Kimball infiltrates the prosthetics department of Cook County Hospital to identify patients who required recent prosthetic adjustments. Afterwards, Kimball is asked to move a young patient on a gurney. Noticing he has been misdiagnosed, he changes the boy's file, saving his life. A doctor notices his interference and alerts security, forcing him to flee. Gerard investigates the incident and, after deducing Kimball is searching for his one-armed man, also compiles a list of suspects. Gerard and Kimball encounter each other at Chicago City Hall, while approaching the same suspect, but Gerard loses Kimball in the St. Patrick's Day parade crowds. Later, Kimball breaks into the home of another suspect, Frederick Sykes. Recognizing Sykes as his wife's killer, he discovers evidence linking Sykes to his former colleague, Dr. Alec Lentz, and Devlin McGregor, a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company developing a drug called Prevasic. Kimball had reviewed Prevasic and discovered it causes liver damage, which should have prevented the drug being approved for sale. He calls Gerard from Sykes' home to lead him there. Suspicious at what he finds, Gerard puts Sykes under surveillance, but he sneaks away. Kimball realizes that the Prevasic-afflicted liver samples he sent to Lentz were tampered with, to hide the side effects. They were then approved in Lentz's name, on the same day that he died under suspicious circumstances. Kimball deduces that Nichols, Lentz's boss, was responsible for both. Aboard a train to the medical conference in the hotel where Nichols will unveil Privasic, Kimball is attacked by Sykes, who ends up shooting an intervening police officer dead. Kimball subdues Sykes, then handcuffs him to the train. The police assume Kimball killed the officer and order him shot on sight. At the conference, Kimball publicly confronts Nichols for killing Lentz and concealing Privasic's side effects for profit and a directorship at Devlin McGregor. The men fight through the hotel, across the roof, and into the laundry room, pursued by Gerard. Kimball accuses Nichols of sending Sykes to kill him for opposing Privasic, inadvertently resulting in Helen's murder when she came home alone after Kimball was unexpectedly called in for surgery. Gerard calls out to Kimball, asserting his belief in his innocence after finding evidence of Nichols' guilt. Nichols knocks out Gerard's colleague, takes his gun, and readies to shoot Gerard, but Kimball saves him by knocking Nichols out with a pipe. Kimball surrenders, and Sykes and Nichols are arrested. While reporters query the police over failings in the case, Kimball is escorted to Gerard's car, where he reminds him of his earlier claim that he did not care. Gerard wryly asks him to keep it a secret that he does as they are driven away. Cast: Andreas Katsoulas portrayed Frederick Sykes, also known as the One-Armed Man. Harrison Ford as Dr. Richard Kimball. Tommy Lee Jones as Deputy U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard. Sela Ward as Helen Kimball. Joe Pantoliano as Deputy U.S. Marshal Cosmo Renfro. Andreas Katsoulas as Frederick Sykes. Jeroen Krabbe as Dr. Charles Nichols. Daniel Roebuck as Deputy U.S. Marshal Bobby Biggs. Tom Wood as Deputy U.S. Marshal Noah Newman. L. Scott Caldwell as Deputy U.S. Marshal Aaron Poole. Johnny Lee Davenport as Deputy U.S. Marshal Henry. Julianne Moore as Dr. Ann Eastman. Ron Dean as Detective Kelly. Joseph Kosala as Detective Rossetti. Jane Lynch as Dr. Kathy Walland. Dick Cusack as Attorney Walter Guthrie. Andy Romano as Judge Bennett. Nick Searcy as Sheriff Rollins. Eddie Bo Smith as Copeland. Neil Flynn as Transit Cop. Richard Rilla as Old Guard. Kirsten Nelson as Hospital Secretary. David Darlow as Dr. Alec Lentz. Frank Raparilli as Corrections Officer. Lester Holt as Newscaster. David U. Hodges as Marshal David. John M. Watson Sr. as Bones Roosevelt. Production. Casting. Harrison Ford was not originally cast for the role of Dr. Richard Kimball. Instead, a number of actors were auditioned for the part, including Alec Baldwin, Nick Nolte, Kevin Costner, and Michael Douglas. Nick Nolte in particular felt he was too old for the role, though he is only a year older than Harrison Ford. For according to Ford in a 2023 interview with James Hibbard of The Hollywood Reporter, he pursued the role of Richard Kimball in part due to his preference for playing characters dissimilar to him, as well as a desire to grow a beard or mustache for a role, something then Warner Brothers chairman Robert A. Daly had repeatedly prevented on the grounds that he was paying for Harrison Ford's face and wished to see it unobstructed by facial hair. 5. Although the role of Sam Gerard went to Tommy Lee Jones, Andrew Davis considered both Gene Hackman and Jon Voight for the role. The character of Dr. Charles Nichols was recast for Jeroen Krabbe after the original actor who landed the role, Richard Jordan, fell ill with a brain tumor. Jordan died 3 weeks after the film's release. 4-6. Filming. Inside the lobby of Chicago City Hall, where the scenes featuring Gerard's chase reaching its climax were filmed. The ballroom at the Hilton Chicago Hotel, where Nichols unveils Privasic. Filming began in February 1993 and wrapped in mid-May. 7-8 filming locations included Bryson City and Dillsboro, North Carolina, Blount County, Tennessee, and Chicago. 9 Although almost half of the film is set in rural Illinois, a large portion of the principal filming was actually shot in Jackson County, North Carolina, in the Great Smoky Mountains. The prison transport bus and freight train wreck scenes were filmed along the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad just outside their depot in Dillsboro. The wreckage can still be seen from the railroad's excursion trains. 10 The train crash, which cost $1 million to film, was shot in a single take using a real train with a locomotive whose engine had been removed. 7. The wreck took several weeks to plan, and was preceded by several test runs with a boxcar and a log car. 11. Scenes in the hospital after Richard Kimball initially escapes were filmed at Harris Regional Hospital in Sylva, North Carolina. Cheoah Dam in Deals Gap was the location of the scene in which Kimball jumps from the dam. The rest of the film was shot in Chicago, including some of the dam scenes, which were filmed in the remains of the Chicago freight tunnels. The City Hall stair chase, where Kimball narrowly escapes being apprehended by Gerard, was filmed in the corridors and lobby of Chicago City Hall. The character Sykes lives in the historic Pullman neighborhood of Chicago. Harrison Ford uses the payphone in the Pullman pub, and then climbs a ladder and runs down the roofline of the historic row houses. 12. According to Andrew Davis, filming in Chicago was Ford's idea. Originally, I wasn't even going to try to come to Chicago. I thought that the weather would be too cold and difficult for shooting. But Harrison, having seen several of my prior films shot in Chicago, suggested doing it here. Ford would later explain, I grew up in Chicago, went to college in Wisconsin, and came back to take summer jobs for 3 years. I felt this was the best possible option as a location. We could get the grittiness, we could get the flash of architecture, the charm of the lake. It has it all. 8. The chase scene during the St. Patrick's Day Parade was filmed during the actual parade held that year on Wednesday, March 17, 1993, with Mayor Richard M. Daley and Illinois Attorney General Roland Burris briefly seen as actual participants. 13. Besides The Fugitive, another feature film, Michael Apted's Blink, was filmed during that year's parade. According to Charles Geocaris, then head of the Chicago Film Office, both productions approached the film office in February about filming during the parade. Location managers and production managers for both films worked out the logistics with parade organizers, but according to Geocaris, the two camera crews still occasionally ran into each other during their shoots. Complicating matters was the cold weather, 6 degrees C, 21 degrees Fahrenheit, with a wind chill factor of 21 degrees C, 6 degree F. Nevertheless, disruption was at a minimum, with Geocaris recalling, people on the parade route were laughing as Tommy Lee Jones chased Harrison Ford. It was a fun thing for them. 14. Cinematographer Michael Chapman credits Andrew Davis for the film's distinctive use of Chicago, which drew much praise upon its release. A lot of it really feels like Chicago, because it just has a native's eye to it. That's Andy's, not mine. He knew where to look. 15. Chapman was hired a week into production after his predecessor was fired, and he claims he only took the job because the money was too good. Throughout the production, Chapman went back and forth between documentary and theatrical methods, using handheld cameras and natural light for scenes including the first house raid and then adding unexpected light sources throughout the tunnel chase, as the realistic absence of light was deemed unfeasible. 16. Though his work was later recognized with an Academy Award nomination, Chapman said it was an unhappy experience, as he never got along with Davis. I said, I hated being there and I was the wrong guy and cursed, but it all worked out, so you never know. 16. Much of the film was rewritten throughout production, and typically on the day each scene was supposed to shoot. According to Davis, he never met with credited screenwriter David Toohey, whose main contribution was writing the train crash. Beyond that, Davis said, he wasn't involved in anything we did. Jeb Stewart was there with us, basically responding to things we were coming up with all the time. Warner Brothers can't talk about this because of the Writers Guild, but Tommy Lee Jones, myself, Harrison Ford, and other people who were close with us, especially coming up with the whole plot about the pharmaceuticals, they were uncredited writers. 17. Jane Lynch, who was cast as Dr. Kathy Walland in one of her first film roles, recalled having that experience, with both Harrison Ford and herself working out new dialogue for their scene right before they filmed it, as Harrison Ford didn't like the scene as it was written. 18. Given Harrison Ford's limited window of availability, Andrew Davis had only 10 weeks to edit, mix, and finish the film between the last day of shooting and the day it opened in theaters. 17. To meet their schedule, producer Peter McGregor Scott set up 7 editing suites at Warner Hollywood Studios, and had a team of editors cutting around the clock, as they each worked on different scenes. 19. Each editor would be recognized for their work on the film with an Academy Award nomination. Music. Main article, The Fugitive, soundtrack. James Newton Howard composed the film's musical score with the Hollywood Studio Symphony. 20. The album was released through Elektra Records on August 31, 1993, while an expanded edition featuring the complete score was released by La La Land Records later in 2009. 21-22. Reception. Box office. The Fugitive opened strongly at the U.S. box office, grossing $23,758,855 in its first weekend from 2,340 theaters, replacing Rising Sun as the #1 film, and surpassing Unforgiven as the biggest August opening weekend. 23. For 6 years, the film held this record, until 1999, when it was surpassed by The Sixth Sense. 24. It held the top spot for 6 weeks. 25-26. The film eventually went on to gross an estimated $183,875,760 in the United States and Canada, and $185 million in foreign revenue, for a worldwide total of $368,875,760. 27-28. The Fugitive was the first major American film to be screened in the People's Republic of China in nearly a decade after a revenue-sharing agreement was made with China Film Import and Export Corporation, following restrictions on foreign films. 29-30-31. First Blood, 1982, was released there in 1985. 32. The Fugitive grossed CNY 25.8 million, $3 million, in 1994, with Warner Brothers estimated to have received $400,000. 33-34-31. Critical response. On Rotten Tomatoes, The Fugitive has a 96% rating based on 81 reviews, with an average rating of 8.10/10. The website's critics' consensus reads, "Exhilarating and intense, this high-impact chase thriller is a model of taut and efficient formula filmmaking, and it features Harrison Ford at his frantic best." 35. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 87 out of 100, based on 32 critics. 36 audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a rare A+ grade on a scale of A+ to F. 37. Like the cult television series that inspired it, the film has a Kafkaesque view of the world. But it is larger and more encompassing than the series. Davis paints with bold visual strokes so that the movie rises above its action film origins and becomes operatic. Roger Ebert, writing for the Chicago Sun-Times. 38. Desson Howe, writing in the Washington Post, called the film a juggernaut of exaggeration, momentum, and thrills without a single lapse of subtlety. Fugitive is pure energy, a perfect orchestration of heroism, villainy, suspense, and comic relief. Ford makes the perfect writer for a project like this, with his hangdog handsome everyman presence. He's one of us, but one of us at his personal best. It's great fun to ride along with him. 39. Left impressed, Rita Kempley, also writing in the Washington Post, surmised how the film contained beautifully matched adversaries, figuring, one represents the law, the other justice, and it's the increasingly intimate relationship between them that provides the tension. Otherwise, The Fugitive would be little more than one long chase scene, albeit a scorchingly paced and innovative one. 40. In a mixed review, Mark Savlov of the Austin Chronicle wrote, "Director Davis valiantly tries to keep the breakneck, harried pace of an actual flight going throughout, and only occasionally drops the ball, The film's convoluted conspiracy ending is the first example to beat me about the face and neck just now. Others will crop up after deadline, I'm sure. Of the lead actor's performance, he said, Ford may be the closest thing we have these days to a Gary Cooper, but really, where's David Janssen when we really need him? 41. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly said that the film was about two chases, two suspense plots running on parallel and finally convergent tracks. Kimball and Gerard spend the entire film on opposite sides of the law. Before long, though, we realize we're rooting for both of them. They're both protagonists, united in brains, dedication, superior gamesmanship. The film's breathless momentum springs from their jaunty competitive urgency. 42. In a 2018 review for The Atlantic, Sarai Roberts says the film is notable for being the best of a genre that no longer really exists, the character-driven Hollywood action movie for adults. 43. The film was not without its detractors. Jeff Andrew of Time Out viewed the film as a glossy, formula chase movie with the requisite number of extravagant action sequences. The critic added, Ford is up to par for the strenuous stuff, but falls short on the grief, anxiety, and compassion, allowing Tommy Lee Jones to walk away with the show as the wisecracking marshal on Kimball's trail. 44. Columnist Ethan Hamm, writing for the Bright Lights Film Journal, speculated that supporting actor Tommy Lee Jones' character was much more disturbing than the inept police. Later explaining, in Kimball's first encounter with Gerard, Kimball says, I didn't kill her. Gerard responds, I don't care. 45. In the Chicago Sun-Times, noted film critic Roger Ebert voiced his enthusiasm with the film, observing, the device of the film is to keep Kimball only a few steps ahead of his pursuers. It is a dangerous strategy, and could lead to laughable close calls and near misses, but Davis tells the story of the pursuit so clearly on the tactical level that we can always understand why Kimball is only so far ahead, and no further. As always, Davis uses locations not simply as the place where action occurs, but as part of the reason for the action. 38. Rating the film with 3 stars, James Berardinelli of Real Views professed, following the opening scenes, we're treated to over a half hour of non-stop action, as Gerard and his men track down Kimball. Directed and photographed with a flair, this part of the movie keeps viewers on the edges of their seats. Most importantly, when on the run, Kimball acts like an intelligent human being. Equally as refreshing, the lawmen are his match, not a bunch of uniformed dunces being run around in circles. 46. Harrison Ford, bearded and numb with grief, breathes new life into the role last played by the stoic David Janssen some 26 years ago. Janssen played Kimball as the Lone Ranger with a stethoscope, moving from town to town, but Ford takes a darker, more gothic approach. Rita Kempley, writing in the Washington Post, 40. For the most part, satisfied with the quality of the motion picture, Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Chicago Reader said that the mystery itself is fairly routine, but Jones's offbeat and streamlined performance as a proudly diffident sick investigator helps one overlook the mechanical cross-cutting and various implausibilities, and director Andrew Davis does a better than average job with the action sequences. 47. Leonard Plady, writing in Variety, exclaimed, "This is one film that doesn't stint on thrills and knows how to use them. It has a sympathetic lead, a stunning antagonist, state-of-the-art special effects, top-of-the-line craftsmanship, and a taut screenplay that breathes life into familiar territory." 48. Film critic Chris Hicks of the Deseret News accounted for the fact that the film has holes in its plotting that are easy to pick apart and characters that are pretty thin, bolstered by the performances of seasoned vets who know how to lend heft to their roles. But in summary, he stated, "The film is so stylish, so funny, and so heart-stopping in its suspense that the audience simply doesn't care about flaws." 49. The February 2020 issue of New York Magazine lists The Fugitive as among the best movies that lost Best Picture at the Oscars. 50. In 2024, Looper ranked at number 47 on its list of the 50 best PG-13 movies of all time, writing, Sometimes, all you need to make a movie work is just some great chase scenes and a good suspenseful plot that keeps you guessing. Having Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones on hand to provide the kinds of performances that they deliver best is just further icing on a cinematic cake. The Fugitive is suspenseful, action-packed, and intelligent, the kind of film that critics and moviegoers can all agree on. 51. Accolades. The film was nominated and won several awards in 1993 to 1994. 52 various film critics included the film on their lists of the top 10 best films for that year, including Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, who named it the fourth best film of 1993. Harrison Ford, born July 13, 1942, is an American actor. Regarded as a cinematic cultural icon, he has starred in many films over 7 decades, and is one of the highest-grossing actors in the world. Ford's accolades include nominations for an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, an Emmy Award, 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and 5 Golden Globe Awards, and he is the recipient of the AFI Life Achievement Award, Cecil B. DeMille Award, Honorary César, Honorary Palme d'Or, and was honored as a Disney Legend in 2024. After making his screen debut in 1966 and early supporting roles in the films American Graffiti, 1973, and The Conversation, 1974, Ford achieved global stardom for portraying Han Solo in the space opera film Star Wars, 1977, a role he reprised in 5 films for the eponymous franchise spanning the next 4 decades. He also received recognition for his portrayal of the titular character in the Indiana Jones franchise, 1981 to 2023, Rick Deckard in the Blade Runner franchise, 1982 to 2017, and Jack Ryan in the action thriller films Patriot Games, 1992, and Clear and Present Danger, 1994. These roles established him as an action hero and one of Hollywood's most bankable stars from the late 1970s into the early 2000s. Ford's performance in the thriller film Witness, 1985, earned him his sole Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. His other films include The Mosquito Coast, 1986, Working Girl, 1988, Presumed Innocent, 1990, The Fugitive, 1993, Sabrina, 1995, The Devil's Own, 1997, Air Force One, 1997, 6 Days, 7 Nights, 1998, What Lies Beneath, 2000, K-19, The Widowmaker, 2002, Cowboys and Aliens, 2011, 42, 2013, The Age of Adeline, 2015, The Call of the Wild, 2020, and Captain America, Brave New World, 2025. Ford has also starred in the Paramount Plus Western series 1923, 2022 to 2025, and the Apple TV Plus comedy series Shrinking, 2023, present. Outside acting, Ford is a licensed pilot. He has often assisted the emergency services in rescue missions near his home in Wyoming, and he chaired an aviation education program for youth from 2004 to 2009. 5. Ford is also an environmental activist, having served as the inaugural vice chair of Conservation International since 1991. 6. Early life. Harrison Ford was born at the Swedish Covenant Hospital in Chicago, Illinois 7 on July 13, 1942. 8 to former radio actress Dorothy, née Neidleman, and advertising executive and former actor John William Christopher Ford. 9. His younger brother, Terence, was born in 1945. 10. Their father was a Catholic of Irish descent. 9. While their mother was an Ashkenazi Jew whose parents were immigrants from Minsk, Belarus, then in the Russian Empire. 9/11. When asked in which religion he and his brother were raised, Ford jokingly responded Democrat. 12. And more seriously stated that they were raised to be liberals of every stripe. 13. When asked about what influence his Jewish and Irish Catholic ancestry may have had on him, he quipped, "As a man I've always felt Irish, as an actor I've always felt Jewish." 14. 15. 16. Ford was a Boy Scout, achieving the second highest rank of Life Scout. He worked at Napo, an adventure-based scout camp, as a counselor for the Reptile Study Merit Batch. Because of this, he and director Steven Spielberg later decided to depict the young Indiana Jones as a Life Scout in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989. Ford graduated in 1960 from Maine East High School in Park Ridge, Illinois. His voice was the first student voice broadcast on his high school's new radio station, WMTH-15, and he was its first sportscaster during his senior year. He attended Ripon College in Ripon, Wisconsin 15, where he was a philosophy major and a member of the Sigma Nu fraternity. A self-described late bloomer, 17, Ford took a drama class in the final quarter of his senior year to get over his shyness and became fascinated with acting. 1920 Ford was expelled from college for plagiarism 4 days before graduation. 21. Career. 1964 to 1976, early work. In 1964, after a season of summer stock with the Belfry Players in Wisconsin 22-23, Ford traveled to Los Angeles and eventually signed a contract with Columbia Pictures' New Talent program. 60 to 69, his first known role was an uncredited one as a bellhop in Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, 1966. There is little record of his non-speaking, or extra, roles in film. Ford was at the bottom of the hiring list, having offended producer Jerry Tokofsky. According to one anecdote, Tokofsky told Ford that when actor Tony Curtis delivered a bag of groceries, he could tell that Curtis was a movie star whereas Ford wasn't. Ford immediately retorted that if Curtis was truly a talented actor, he would have delivered them like a bellhop. Ford was apparently fired soon after. 9 needed 24. His speaking roles continued next with Love, 1967, though he was still uncredited. He was finally credited as Harrison J. Ford in the 1967 Western film A Time for Killing, starring Glenn Ford, George Hamilton, and Inger Stevens, but the J did not stand for anything since he has no middle name. 25. It was added to avoid confusion with a silent film actor named Harrison Ford, 26, who appeared in more than 80 films between 1915 and 1932 and died in 1957. Ford later said that he was unaware of the existence of the earlier actor until he came upon a star with his own name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Ford soon dropped the J and worked for Universal Studios, playing minor roles in many television series throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, including Gunsmoke, Ironside, The Virginian, The FBI, Love, American Style, and Kung Fu. He appeared in the Western Journey to Shiloh, 1968, and had an uncredited, non-speaking role in Michelangelo Antonioni's 1970 film Zabriskie Point as an arrested student protester. In 1968, he also worked as a camera operator for one of the Doors tours. 27. French filmmaker Jacques Demy chose Ford for the lead role of his first American film, Model Shop, 1969, but the head of Columbia Pictures thought Ford had no future in the film business and told Demy to hire a more experienced actor. The part eventually went to Gary Lockwood. Ford later commented that the experience had been nevertheless a positive one because Demy was the first to show such faith in him. 28-29. Not happy with the roles offered to him, Ford became a self-taught professional carpenter 15 to support his then-wife and 2 young sons. Clients at this time included the writers Joan Didion and John Gregory Dunn, who lived on the beach at Malibu. Ford appears in the documentary Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold. He and his wife became friends of the writers. 30. Casting director and fledgling producer Fred Roos championed the young Ford and secured him an audition with George Lucas for the role of Bob Falfa, which Ford went on to play in American Graffiti, 1973. 15. Ford's relationship with Lucas profoundly affected his career later. After director Francis Ford Coppola's film The Godfather was a success, he hired Ford to expand his office and gave him small roles in his next 2 films, The Conversation, 1974, and Apocalypse Now, 1979. In the latter film, Ford played an army colonel named G. Lucas. 1977 to 1997, worldwide stardom and acclaim. Ford's work in American Graffiti eventually landed him his first starring film role, when Lucas hired him to read lines for actors auditioning for roles in Lucas's upcoming epic space opera film Star Wars, 1977. Lucas was eventually won over by Ford's performance during these line reads and cast him as Han Solo. 31 Star Wars became one of the most successful and groundbreaking films of all time, and brought Ford, and his co-stars Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, widespread recognition. Ford began to be cast in bigger roles in films throughout the late 1970s, including Heroes, 1977, Force 10 from Navarone, 1978, and Hanover Street, 1979. He also co-starred alongside Gene Wilder in the buddy comedy western The Frisco Kid, 1979, playing a bank robber with a heart of gold. Ford returned to star in the successful Star Wars sequels The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and Return of the Jedi, 1983, as well as the Star Wars Holiday Special, 1978. Ford wanted Lucas to kill off Han Solo at the end of Return of the Jedi, saying, "That would have given the whole film a bottom," but Lucas refused. 32. Ford with production manager Chandran Ratnam on the set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in Kandy, Sri Lanka, 1983. Ford's status as a leading actor was solidified with Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, an action-adventure collaboration between Lucas and Steven Spielberg that gave Ford his second franchise role as the heroic, globe-trotting archaeologist Indiana Jones. Like Star Wars, the film was massively successful. It became the highest-grossing film of the year. Both Spielberg and Lucas were hesitant in casting Ford in the beginning, according to Howard Kazanjian in his book A Producer's Life. 33. Lucas's reasons were due to having already worked with him on both American Graffiti and Star Wars. Lucas relented after Tom Selleck was unable to accept and Spielberg due to the same, and seeing his performance in The Empire Strikes Back. Ford went on to reprise the role throughout the rest of the decade in the prequel Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 1984, and the sequel Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989. During the June 1983 filming of Temple of Doom in London, Ford herniated a disc in his back. The 40-year-old actor was forced to fly back to Los Angeles for surgery and returned 6 weeks later. 34. Following his leading man success as Indiana Jones, Ford played Rick Deckard in Ridley Scott's dystopian science fiction film Blade Runner, 1982. Compared to his experiences on the Star Wars and Indiana Jones films, Ford had a difficult time with the production. He recalled to Vanity Fair, "It was a long slog. I didn't really find it that physically difficult, I thought it was mentally difficult." Ford and Scott also had differing views on the nature of his character, Deckard, that persist decades later. 35. While not initially a success, Blade Runner became a cult classic and one of Ford's most highly regarded films. 36. Ford proved his versatility throughout the 1980s with dramatic parts in films such as Witness, 1985, The Mosquito Coast, 1986, and Frantic, 1988, as well as the romantic male lead opposite Melanie Griffith and Sigourney Weaver in the comedy drama Working Girl, 1988. Witness and The Mosquito Coast allowed Ford to explore his potential as a dramatic actor, and both performances were widely acclaimed. 37-38 Ford later recalled that working with director Peter Weir on Witness and The Mosquito Coast were two of the best experiences of his career. 39. In late 1991, Ford was scheduled to portray company lawyer A. Philip Randolph in an action historical film titled Night Ride Down, which would have been set around a labor union strike in the 1930s. 40-41-42 Paramount Pictures shelved the project, after Ford quit the film over script changes he disagreed with. 42-43 In the ensuing years, Ford became the second actor to portray Jack Ryan in two films of the film series based on the literary character created by Tom Clancy, Patriot Games, 1992, and Clear and Present Danger, 1994, both co-starring Anne Archer and James Earl Jones. Ford took over the role from Alec Baldwin, who had played Ryan in The Hunt for Red October, 1990. This led to long-lasting resentment from Baldwin, who said that he had wanted to reprise the role but Ford had negotiated with Paramount behind his back. 44 Ford played leading roles in other action-based thrillers throughout the decade, such as The Fugitive, 1993, 45 The Devil's Own, 1997, and Air Force One, 1997. For his performance in The Fugitive, which co-starred Tommy Lee Jones, Ford received some of the best reviews of his career, including from Roger Ebert, who concluded that Ford is once again the great modern movie everyman. As an actor, nothing he does seems merely for show, and in the face of this melodramatic material he deliberately plays down, lays low, gets on with business instead of trying to exploit the drama in meaningless acting flourishes. 46. Ford played more straight dramatic roles in Presumed Innocent, 1990, and Regarding Henry, 1991, and another romantic lead role in Sabrina, 1995, a remake of the classic 1954 film of the same name. Ford established working relationships with many well-regarded directors during this time, including Weir, Alan J. Pakula, Mike Nichols, Philip Noyce, and Sidney Pollack, collaborating twice with each of them. This was the most lucrative period of Ford's career. From 1977 to 1997, he appeared in 14 films that reached the top 15 in the yearly domestic box office rankings, 12 of which reached the top 10. 6 of the films he appeared in during this time were nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture, among other awards: Star Wars, Apocalypse Now, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Witness, Working Girl, and The Fugitive. 1998 to 2014, established career. In the late 1990s, Ford started appearing in several critically derided and commercially disappointing films that failed to match his earlier successes, including 6 Days, 7 Nights, 1998, Random Hearts, 1999, K-19, The Widowmaker, 2002, Hollywood Homicide, 2003, Firewall, 2006, and Extraordinary Measures, 2010. One exception was What Lies Beneath, 2000, which grossed over $155 million in the United States and $291 million worldwide. 48 Ford served as an executive producer on K-19, The Widowmaker and Extraordinary Measures, both of which were based on true events. In 2004, Ford declined a chance to star in the thriller Syriana, later commenting that "I didn't feel strongly enough about the truth of the material and I think I made a mistake." 49. The role went to George Clooney, who won an Oscar and a Golden Globe for his work. Before that, Ford had passed on a role in another Stephen Gaghan-written film, that of Robert Wakefield in Traffic, which went to Michael Douglas. Ford at the 2008 Cannes Film Festival. In 2008, Ford enjoyed success with the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the first Indiana Jones film in 19 years and another collaboration with Lucas and Spielberg. The film received generally positive reviews and was the second highest grossing film worldwide in 2008. 50 Ford later said he would like to star in another sequel if it didn't take another 20 years to digest. 51. Other 2008 work included Crossing Over, directed by Wayne Kramer. In the film, Ford plays an ICE/Homeland Security Investigations special agent, working alongside Ashley Judd and Ray Liotta. He also narrated a feature documentary film about the Dalai Lama Renaissance. 52 Ford filmed the medical drama Extraordinary Measures in 2009 in Portland, Oregon. 53 released on January 22, 2010, the film also starred Brendan Fraser and Alan Ruck. Also in 2010, he co-starred in the film Morning Glory, along with Rachel McAdams, Diane Keaton, and Patrick Wilson. 54 Although the film was a disappointment at the box office, Ford's performance was well received by critics, some of whom thought it was his best role in years. 55 In July 2011, Ford starred alongside Daniel Craig and Olivia Wilde in the science fiction/western hybrid film Cowboys and Aliens. To promote the film, he appeared at San Diego Comic-Con and, apparently surprised by the warm welcome, told the audience, "I just wanted to make a living as an actor. I didn't know about this." 56. Also in 2011, Ford starred in Japanese commercials advertising the video game Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception for the PlayStation 3. 57. Ford reflects on his role as Branch Rickey in the baseball biopic 42 at the State Dining Room, April 2013. 2013 began a trend that saw Ford accepting more diverse supporting roles. That year, he co-starred in the corporate espionage thriller Paranoia with Liam Hemsworth and Gary Oldman, whom he had previously worked with in Air Force 158, and also appeared in Ender's Game, 42 and Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. President Barack Obama greets Ford in the diplomatic reception room, April 2, 2013. Ford's performance as Branch Rickey in the film 42 was praised by many critics and garnered Ford a nomination as Best Supporting Actor for the Satellite Awards. Initially, Brian Helgeland was hesitant to cast Ford, seeking a character actor for the role of Rickey. 59 However, Ford's persistence and dedication to the role, including studying Rickey's life and adopting significant physical transformations, won Helgeland over. 60 Ford's commitment to embodying Rickey involved wearing a fat suit, prosthetics, and mastering Rickey's distinctive voice and mannerisms. 59 He researched Rickey's life, listened to recordings from the Baseball Hall of Fame, and worked with a voice coach to capture Rickey's distinct speech. "I loved the language of the guy, I loved his style," Ford noted. 60 In a 2023 interview with James Hibbard of The Hollywood Reporter, Ford said Branch Rickey is one of his roles he is most proud of. 61. In 2014, he appeared in The Expendables 3, and the following year, co-starred with Blake Lively in the romantic drama The Age of Adeline to positive reviews. 62. 2015, present, returned to franchise roles and shrinking. Ford at the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con. Ford reprised the role of Han Solo in the long-awaited Star Wars sequel Star Wars, The Force Awakens, 2015, which was highly successful, like its predecessors. 63 During filming on June 11, 2014, Ford suffered what was said to be a fractured ankle when a hydraulic door fell on him. He was airlifted to John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford, England, for treatment. 64-65 Ford's son Ben Ford released details on his father's injury, saying that his ankle would likely need a plate and screws, and that filming could be altered slightly, with the crew needing to shoot Ford from the waist up for a short time until he recovered. 66 Ford made his return to filming in mid-August, after a 2-month layoff as he recovered from his injury. 67-68 Ford's character was killed off in The Force Awakens 69, but it was subsequently announced, via a casting call, that Ford would return in some capacity as Solo in Episode 8. 70 In February 2016, when the cast for Episode 8 was confirmed, it was indicated that Ford would not reprise his role in the film after all. 71 When Ford was asked whether Solo could come back in some form, he replied, "Anything is possible in space." 72. He eventually made an uncredited appearance as a vision in Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, 2019. 73-74. On February 26, 2015, Alcon Entertainment announced Ford would reprise his role as Rick Deckard in Denis Villeneuve's science fiction sequel film Blade Runner 2049. 75 The film, and Ford's performance, was very well received by critics upon its release in October 2017. 76 Scott Kalura of IGN called it a deep, rich, smart film that's visually awesome and full of great sci-fi concepts, and Ford's role a quiet, sort of gut-wrenching interpretation to Deckard and what he must have gone through in the past 3 decades. 77. The film grossed $259.3 million worldwide, short of the estimated $400 million that it needed to break even. 78. In 2019, Ford had his first voice role in an animated film, as a dog named Rooster in The Secret Life of Pets 2. 79. With filming of a 5th Indiana Jones film delayed by a year, Ford headlined a big-budget adaptation of Jack London's The Call of the Wild, playing Prospector John Thornton. 80. The film was released in February 2020 to a mixed critical reception, and its theatrical release was shortened due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the film industry. In 2022, Ford was cast to star alongside Helen Mirren in the Paramount Plus Western drama series 1923. 81. The two had previously starred together 36 years earlier in The Mosquito Coast. The series premiered in December 2022 to positive reviews, and it is set to run for a total of 2 seasons. 82-83. That same year, it was announced that Ford would star in the Apple TV Plus comedy drama series Shrinking. 84. The series premiered in January 2023 to positive reviews, with Ford receiving praise for his performance. 85. In a 2023 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, it was revealed that he accepted the roles in both 1923 and Shrinking despite there not being a script at the time. 61. For his work in the series, Ford was nominated for several awards, including a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor, a Critics' Choice Television Award for Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, his first Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Comedy Series, and his first Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. 86. Ford reprised the role of Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 2023, which he later stated would be his last appearance as the character. 87. The film received generally positive reviews, with many critics highlighting Ford's performance. 88. In February 2025, Ford starred alongside Anthony Mackie, the new Captain America, as Thaddeus Ross in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film Captain America: Brave New World, replacing William Hurt after the latter's death. 89. That same month, he brought attention to an ongoing strike by video game actors when he voiced support for Troy Baker playing the role of Indiana Jones in the video game Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, speaking out against the use of artificial intelligence. 90. Personal life. Ford and Callista Flockhart at the 2009 Deauville American Film Festival. Ford has been married 3 times and has 4 biological children and 1 adopted child. He was first married to Mary Marquardt from 1964 until their divorce in 1979. They had 2 sons, born in 1966 and 1969. The older son co-owns Ford's Filling Station, a gastropub located at Terminal 5 in Los Angeles International Airport. 91. The younger son is owner of the Ludwig Clothing Company 92 and previously owned Strong Sports Gym 93 and the Kim Sing Theater. 94. Ford's second marriage was to screenwriter Melissa Matheson from March 1983 until their separation in 2095. They divorced in 2004. 96. They had a son, born in 1987, and a daughter, born in 1990. Matheson died in 2015. Ford began dating actress Callista Flockhart after they met at the 2002 Golden Globe Awards. He proposed to Flockhart over Valentine's Day weekend in 2009. 97. They married on June 15, 2010, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where Ford was filming Cowboys and Aliens. 98. They are the parents of a son, born in 2001, whom Flockhart had adopted before meeting Ford. Ford and Flockhart live on an 800-acre, 320-hectare, 3.2 square kilometer, ranch in Jackson, Wyoming, where he has lived since the 1980s and approximately half of which he has donated as a nature reserve. 99. They retain a base in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. 100. Ford is one of Hollywood's most private actors, guarding much of his personal life. 15 Although Ford's fans have speculated that he has social anxiety disorder, he said in 2023 that he instead has an abhorrence of boring situations. 61. In her 2016 autobiography The Princess Diarist, Carrie Fisher revealed that she and Ford had a 3-month affair in 1976 during the filming of Star Wars. 101. Aviation. Ford touring the Air Force Museum in Dayton in 2003. Ford is a licensed pilot of both fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. 15 On several occasions, he has provided emergency helicopter services at the request of local authorities in Wyoming. In 2000, he piloted an EMT to a 20-year-old hiker who was suffering from dehydration on Table Mountain. 102 The following year, he was flagged down in his helicopter by a 13-year-old Boy Scout who got lost near Yellowstone National Park. 103. Ford began flight training in the 1960s at Wild Rose Idlewild Airport in Wild Rose, Wisconsin, flying in a Piper PA-22 Tri-Pacer, but at $15 an hour, equivalent to $156 in 2024, he could not afford to continue the training. 104 In the mid-1990s, he bought a used Gulfstream II and asked one of his pilots, Terry Bender, to give him flying lessons. They started flying a Cessna 182 Skylane out of Jackson, Wyoming, later switching to Teterboro Airport in Teterboro, New Jersey, flying a Cessna 206, the aircraft in which he made his first solo flight. 105. External videos. Video icon Ford's Bell 407GX. Ford's aircraft are kept at Santa Monica Airport. 106 The Bell 407 helicopter is often kept and flown in Jackson and has been used by Ford in 2 mountain rescues during his assigned duty time with Teton County Search and Rescue. During one of the rescues, Ford recovered a hiker who had become lost and disoriented. She boarded his helicopter and promptly vomited into one of the rescuers' caps, unaware of who the pilot was until much later. I can't believe I barfed in Harrison Ford's helicopter, she said later. 107. Ford flies his de Havilland Canada DHC-2 Beaver, registration N28S, more than any of his other aircraft, and has repeatedly said that he likes this aircraft and the sound of its Pratt & Whitney R985 radial engine. 108 According to Ford, it had been flown in the CIA's Air America operations and was riddled with bullet holes that had to be patched up. 109. Ford's 2010 International Air and Space Hall of Fame portrait in the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. In March 2004, Ford officially became chairman of the Experimental Aircraft Association, EAA's Young Eagles program, founded by then EAA President Tom Poberezny and fellow actor-pilot Cliff Robertson. Ford was asked to take the position by Greg Anderson, senior vice president of the EAA at the time, to replace General Chuck Yeager, who was vacating the post that he had held for many years. Ford at first was hesitant, but later accepted the offer and has made appearances with the Young Eagles at the EAA AirVenture Oshkosh gathering at Oshkosh, Wisconsin, for 2 years. In July 2005, at the gathering in Oshkosh, Ford agreed to accept the position for another 2 years. He has flown over 280 children as part of the Young Eagles program, usually in his DHC-2 Beaver, which can seat the actor and 5 children. Ford stepped down as program chairman in 2009 and was replaced by Captain Chesley Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles. He is involved with the EAA chapter in Driggs, Idaho, just over the Teton Range from Jackson, Wyoming. On July 28, 2016, Ford flew the 2 millionth Young Eagle at the EAA AirVenture Convention 110, making it the most successful aviation youth introduction program in history. As of 2009, Ford appears in internet advertisements for General Aviation Serves America, a campaign by the advocacy group Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, AOPA. 111 He has also appeared in several independent aviation documentaries, including Wings Over the Rockies, 2009, 112 Flying the Feathered Edge, The Bob Hoover Project, 2014, and Living in the Age of Airplanes, 2015. 113. Ford is an honorary board member of the humanitarian aviation organization Wings of Hope 114 and is known for having made several trips to Washington, D.C., to fight for pilots' rights. 115. He has also donated substantial funds to aerobatic champion Sean Tucker's charitable program, the Bob Hoover Academy, named after legendary aviator Bob Hoover, which educates at-risk teens in Central California and teaches them how to fly. 116. Incidents. On August 22, 1987, Ford was traveling as a passenger with Clint Eastwood and Sandra Locke aboard a Gulfstream 3 when the jet developed an engine fire and stuck landing gear during a Paris to LA flight and was forced to land in Bangor, Maine. 117. The charter company owning the G3 sent another jet and mechanics to Bangor, and the group flew out on that plane the next day. 118. On October 23, 1999, Ford was involved in the crash of a Bell 206L4 Long Ranger helicopter. The NTSB accident report states that Ford was piloting the aircraft over the Lake Piru riverbed near Santa Clarita, California, on a routine training flight. While making his second attempt at an auto rotation with powered recovery 119, the aircraft was unable to recover power after the sudden drop in altitude. It landed hard and began skidding forward in the loose gravel before flipping onto its side. Neither Ford nor the instructor pilot suffered any injuries, though the helicopter was seriously damaged. 120. On March 5, 2015, Ford's plane, believed to be a Ryan PT-22 recruit, made an emergency landing on the Penmar Golf Course in Venice, California after it lost engine power. He was taken to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, where he was reported to be in fair to moderate condition. 121. Ford suffered a broken pelvis and broken ankle during the accident, as well as other injuries. 122. On February 13, 2017, Ford landed an Aviat Husky at John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California, on the taxiway left of runway 20L. A Boeing 737 was holding short of the runway on the taxiway when Ford overflew them. 123. On April 24, 2020, at the Los Angeles Hawthorne Airport while piloting his Husky, Ford crossed a runway where another aircraft was landing. 124. According to the FAA, the two planes were about 3,600 feet from each other and there was no danger of a crash. A representative of Ford later said that he misheard an instruction given to him by air traffic control. 125. Activism. Environmental work. Ford is Vice Chair of Conservation International 126, an American nonprofit environmental organization headquartered in Arlington, Virginia. The organization's intent is to protect nature. 127. Since 1992, Ford has lent his voice to a series of public service messages promoting environmental involvement for EarthShare, an American federation of environmental and conservation charities. 128. He has acted as a spokesperson for Restore Hetch Hetchy, a nonprofit organization dedicated to restoring Yosemite National Park's Hetch Hetchy Valley to its original condition. 129. Ford also appears in the documentary series Years of Living Dangerously, which reports on people affected by and seeking solutions to climate change. 130. In 1993, the arachnologist Norman Platnick named a new species of spider Calpurnia horizonforti, and in 2002 the entomologist Edward O. Wilson named a new ant species Phaeodile horizonforti, in recognition of Harrison's work as vice chairman of Conservation International. 131. The Peruvian snake species Tachymenoides horizonforti was named for Ford in 2023. 132. In September 2013, Ford, while filming an environmental documentary in Indonesia, interviewed the Indonesian forestry minister, Zulkifli Hasan. After the interview, Ford and his crew were accused of harassing state institutions and publicly threatened with deportation. Questions within the interview concerned the Teso Nilo National Park, Sumatra. It was alleged the Minister of Forestry was given no prior warning of questions nor the chance to explain the challenges of catching illegal loggers. 133, 134, 135, 136 Ford was provided an audience with the Indonesian President, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, during which he expressed concerns regarding Indonesia's environmental degradation and the government efforts to address climate change. In response, the President explained Indonesia's commitment to preserving its oceans and forests. 137, 138. In 2019, on behalf of Conservation International, Ford gave an impassioned speech during the United Nations Climate Action Summit in New York on the destruction of the Amazon rainforest and its effect on climate change for the rest of the world. Ford urged his audience to listen to angry young people trying to make a difference in the situation, emphasizing, "The most important thing we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way." 139. Political views. Like his parents, Ford is a lifelong Democrat. 140. On September 7, 1995, Ford testified before the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee in support of the Dalai Lama and an independent Tibet. 141, 142 In 2007, he narrated the documentary Dalai Lama Renaissance. 143. In 2000, Ford donated $1,000 to the presidential campaigns of Bill Bradley, Al Gore, and John McCain. 144. In 2003, he publicly condemned the Iraq War and called for regime change in the United States. He also criticized Hollywood for making movies which were more akin to video games than stories about human life and relationships, and he called for more gun control in the United States. 145. In 2009, Ford signed a petition calling for the release of film director Roman Polanski, who had been arrested in Switzerland in relation to his 1977 charge for drugging and raping a 13-year-old girl. 146. After Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said his favorite role of Ford's was Air Force One because he stood up for America, Ford responded that it was just a film and made critical statements against Trump's presidential bid. 147, 148. Ford endorsed Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign against Trump. He said that he wanted to encourage people to support candidates that will support the environment and felt that under Trump, the US had lost some of our credibility in the world. 149 Along with Mark Hamill, Ford worked with the anti-Trump Republican group The Lincoln Project to produce and narrate a 2020 election ad attacking Trump's disparaging of Anthony Fauci. 150. On November 2, 2024, he endorsed Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign. 151. Archaeology. Following on his success portraying the archaeologist Indiana Jones, Ford also plays a part in supporting the work of professional archaeologists. He serves as a general trustee on the governing board of the Archaeological Institute of America, AIA, North America's oldest and largest organization devoted to the world of archaeology. 152 Ford assists them in their mission of increasing public awareness of archaeology and preventing looting and the illegal antiquities trade. Citation needed. Acting credits and accolades. See also, Harrison Ford filmography and list of awards and nominations received by Harrison Ford. Ford star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Throughout his career, Ford has received significant recognition for his work in the entertainment industry. In 1986, he was nominated for Best Actor at the 58th Academy Awards for his performance in Witness, a role for which he also received BAFTA and Golden Globe nominations in the same category. 3 additional Golden Globe nominations went to Ford in 1987, 1994, and 1996 for his performances in The Mosquito Coast, The Fugitive and Sabrina. 153 in 2000, he was the recipient of the AFI Life Achievement Award from the American Film Institute for his body of work, presented to him by two of his closest collaborators and fellow industry giants, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. 154 in 2002, he was given the Cecil B. DeMille Award, another career achievement honor, from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association at the 59th Golden Globe Awards ceremony. On May 30, 2003, Ford received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2006, he received the Jules Verne Award, given to an actor who has encouraged the spirit of adventure and imagination throughout their career. He was presented with the first ever Hero Award at the 2007 Scream Awards for his many iconic roles, including Indiana Jones and Han Solo, both of which earned him a collective 3 Saturn Awards for Best Actor in 1982, 2024, and 2016, respectively, and in 2008 he received the Spike TV's Guy's Choice Award for Brass Balls. 156 in 2015, Ford received the Albert R. Broccoli Britannia Award for worldwide contribution to entertainment from BAFTA Los Angeles. 157 in 2018, Ford was honored by the SAG-AFTRA Foundation with the Artist's Inspiration Award for both his acting and philanthropic work alongside fellow honoree Lady Gaga. SAG-AFTRA Foundation Board President JoBeth Williams in the press release said, "Harrison Ford is an acting legend in every known galaxy, but what many do not know are the decades of philanthropic service and leadership he has given to Conservation International to help protect our planet." 158. Other prestigious film honors for Ford include an honorary Caesar, an honorary Palme d'Or from the Cannes Film Festival, the Career Achievement Award from the Hollywood Film Awards, the Kirk Douglas Award for Excellence in Film from the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, the Box Office Star of the Century Award from the National Association of Theatre Owners and the Lifetime Achievement Award from both the Locarno Film Festival and the Zurich Film Festival. Ford has also been honored multiple times for his involvement in general aviation, receiving the Living Legends of Aviation Award and the Experimental Aircraft Association's Freedom of Flight Award in 2009, 159 160 the Wright Brothers Memorial Trophy in 2010, 161 and the Alyulsky Humanitarian Award in 2013. 162 Flying Magazine ranked him number 48 on their 2013 list of the 51 heroes of aviation. 115 in 2024, Ford was a recipient of the Disney Legends Award for his outstanding film contributions to the Walt Disney Company. Tommy Lee Jones, born September 15, 1946, is an American actor. He has received various accolades including an Academy Award, a Golden Globe Award, a Primetime Emmy Award and 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards. After appearing in several projects from the 1960s to 1980s, Jones established himself as a leading man in the 1990s, known for his gruff and authoritative film roles. He won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance as U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard in the thriller film The Fugitive, 1993. His other Oscar-nominated roles were as businessman Clay Shaw in JFK, 1991, Hank Deerfield in the Valley of Illa, 2007, and Congressman Thaddeus Stevens in Lincoln, 2012. He played Agent K in the Men in Black franchise. Other notable roles were in Coal Miner's Daughter, 1980, Volcano, 1997, Under Siege, 1992, Natural Born Killers, 1994, The Client, 1994, Batman Forever, 1995, Double Jeopardy, 1999, No Country for Old Men, 2007, The Company Men, 2010, Captain America, The First Avenger, 2011, Jason Bourne, 2016, and Ad Astra, 2019. Jones won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Movie for his role as executed murderer Gary Gilmore in The Executioner's Song, 1982. He was further nominated for playing Texas Ranger Woodrow F. Call in the television miniseries Lonesome Dove, 1989. He portrayed Howard Hughes in the CBS film The Amazing Howard Hughes, 1977. He directed and starred in the Western TNT movie The Good Old Boys, 1995. He directed, starred in and executive produced the HBO film The Sunset Limited, 2011. Early life and education. Jones as a junior in high school, 1964. Jones was born on September 15, 1946, in San Saba, Texas. To his mother, Lucille Marie Jones, née Scott, 1928-2013, 3 was a police officer, school teacher, and beauty shop owner, and his father, Clyde C. Jones, 1926-1986, was a cowboy and oil field worker. The two were married and divorced twice. Jones is of Cherokee descent. 5. He was raised in Midland, Texas. 6. And attended Robert E. Lee High School. Jones later moved to Dallas and graduated from the St. Mark's School of Texas in 1965-7, which he attended on scholarship. College. Jones entered Harvard College in 1965 on need-based aid. 8. As an upperclassman, he lived in Dunster House 8 and was roommates with future U.S. Vice President Al Gore and with Bob Summerby, who later became editor of the media criticism site The Daily Howler. Jones majored in English literature and was a pupil of dramatist Robert Chapman. 9-10 He graduated in 1969 with a Bachelor of Arts degree, cum laude. His senior thesis was on the mechanics of Catholicism in the works of Flannery O'Connor. 11-12. College football. Tom Jones. Number 61. Position guard. Major English. Personal information. Born, September 15, 1946, age 79. San Saba, Texas. Height 6 feet 1 in, 1.85 m. Weight 200 pounds 91 kilograms. Career history. College. Harvard, 1965 to 1968. High school St. Mark's, TX. Career highlights and awards. First team All-Ivy League, 1968. Jones played guard 13 on the Harvard Crimson football team from 1965 to 1968. He was a member of Harvard's undefeated 1968 football team. He was named as a first-team All-Ivy League selection, and played in the 1968 game. The game featured a memorable and last-minute Harvard 16-point comeback to tie Yale. He recounted his memory of the most famous football game in Ivy League history in the documentary Harvard Beats Yale 29-29. Career. Early acting and film, 1969 to 1982. Jones in 2006. After graduating from Harvard in 1969, Jones moved to New York City to become an actor, making his Broadway debut in 1969's A Patriot for Me in a number of supporting roles. In 1970, he landed his first film role, coincidentally playing a Harvard student in Love Story. Eric Siegel, the author of Love Story, said that he based the lead character of Oliver on aspects of two undergraduate roommates he knew while on a sabbatical at Harvard, Jones and Al Gore. 14. In early 1971, he returned to Broadway in Abe Burrows' Four on a Garden, where he shared the stage with Carol Channing and Sid Caesar. Between 1971 and 1975 he portrayed Dr. Mark Toland on the ABC soap opera One Life to Live. He returned to the stage for a short-lived 1974 production of Ulysses in Nighttown, an adaptation of one episode from James Joyce's novel Ulysses, playing Stephen Dedalus opposite Zero Mostel's Leopold Bloom and directed by Burgess Meredith. 15. It was followed by the acclaimed TV movie The Amazing Howard Hughes, where he played the lead role. In films, he played a hunted escaped convict in Jackson County Jail, 1976, a Vietnam veteran in Rolling Thunder, 1977, an automobile mogul, co-starring with Laurence Olivier, in the Harold Robbins drama The Betsy, 1978, and a police detective opposite Faye Dunaway in the 1978 thriller Eyes of Laura Mars. In 1980, Jones earned his first Golden Globe nomination for his portrayal of country singer Loretta Lynn's husband, Doolittle Mooney Lynn, in Coal Miner's Daughter. In 1981, he played a drifter opposite Sally Field in Backroads, a comedy that received middling reviews. 16 In 1982, he co-starred with Tuesday Weld in the HBO adaptation of The Rainmaker, directed by John Frankenheimer. Further exposure, 1983 to 2004. In 1983, he received an Emmy-17 for Best Actor for his performance as murderer Gary Gilmore in a TV adaptation of Norman Mailer's The Executioner's Song. The same year, he starred in a pirate adventure, Nate and Hayes, playing pirate Captain Bully Hayes. In 1986, Jones played a former thief working for the FBI in the action thriller Black Moon Rising. In 1988, Jones co-starred with Chad Lowe and Robert Urich in the made-for-TV film April Morning, which depicted the Battle of Lexington in the American Revolutionary War. 18 In 1989, he earned another Emmy nomination for his portrayal of Texas Ranger Woodrow F. Call in the acclaimed television miniseries Lonesome Dove, based on the bestseller by Larry McMurtry. In the 1990s, Jones was featured in blockbuster films such as JFK, 1991, co-starring Kevin Costner, which earned him an Oscar nomination, The Fugitive, 1993, co-starring Harrison Ford, Batman Forever, 1995, co-starring Val Kilmer, Volcano, 1997, co-starring Anne Heche, and Men in Black, 1997, with Will Smith. His performance as Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard in The Fugitive received broad acclaim that included an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and a sequel, U.S. Marshals, 1998. When he accepted his Oscar, his head was shaved for his role in the film Cobb, 1994, which he made light of in his speech, "The only thing a man can say at a time like this is I am not really bald. Actually I'm lucky to be working." Among his other well-known performances during the 1990s were those of a terrorist who hijacks a U.S. Navy battleship in Under Siege, 1992, the role of Reverend Roy Foltrigg in The Client, 1994, a maximum security prison warden who's in way over his head in Natural Born Killers, 1994, and a parole officer in Double Jeopardy, 1999. In 2000, Jones co-starred with Samuel L. Jackson as a Marine colonel serving as Jackson's defense attorney in the film Rules of Engagement, and co-starred with director Clint Eastwood as astronauts in the film Space Cowboys, in which both played retired pilots and friends/rivals leading a space rescue mission together. In 2002, he and Will Smith co-starred in the Men in Black sequel, Men in Black 2. Later years, 2005, present. Jones at the 2005 Cannes Film Festival. In 2005, the first theatrical feature film Jones directed, The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada, was presented at the 2005 Cannes Film Festival. Jones's character speaks both English and Spanish in the film. His performance won him the Best Actor award at Cannes. His first film as a director had been The Good Old Boys in 1995, a made-for-television movie. Two strong performances in 2007 marked a resurgence in Jones's career, one as a beleaguered father investigating the disappearance of his soldier son in the Valley of Ila, the other as a Texas sheriff hunting an assassin in the Oscar-winning No Country for Old Men. For the former, he was nominated for an Academy Award. Jones has been a spokesman for Japanese brewing company Suntory since 2006. He can be seen in various Japanese TV commercials of Suntory's coffee brand Boss as a character called Alien Jones, an extraterrestrial who takes the form of a human to check on the world of humans. Many of these commercials can be seen on YouTube. 19 In 2011, Jones appeared in public service announcements on Japanese television, joining a number of other popular figures who sang two sentimental songs in remembrance of those lost in the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. In 2010, Jones appeared alongside Ben Affleck in the recession drama The Company Man. The film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, where early reviews praised Jones's performance as pitch perfect. 20 Jones had a role in the Marvel Studios film, Captain America, The First Avenger, 2011. 21 He also directed, produced, and co-starred with Samuel L. Jackson in an adaptation of The Sunset Limited, 2011. In 2012, there was another turning point in Jones's career, starting with playing Agent K again in Men in Black 3, portraying Arnold Soames in the romantic dramedy Hope Springs, and co-starring as Thaddeus Stevens in Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. Jones's performance in Lincoln received wide critical acclaim, and he was nominated for an Oscar for the fourth time, for Best Supporting Actor. Since Lincoln, Jones has continued appearing in popular films, including Jason Bourne, 2016, and Ad Astra, 2019. Personal life. Jones was married to Kate Lardner, the niece of screenwriter and journalist Ring Lardner Jr., from 1971 to 1978. 22 He has two children from his second marriage to Kimberly Cluffley, the daughter of Phil Hartberger, former mayor of San Antonio. 23 On March 19, 2001, he married his third wife, Dawn Laurel. 24-25. Jones resides in Terrell Hills, Texas, a city just outside of downtown San Antonio, and speaks Spanish. 26 He owns a 3,000-acre, 1,200 ha cattle ranch in San Saba County, Texas. 27 And a ranch near Van Horn, Texas, which served as the set for his film The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada. He owned an equestrian estate in Wellington, Florida, until he sold it in 2019. Jones is a polo player, and he has a house in a polo country club in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He is a supporter of the Polo Training Foundation. 28 He is an avid San Antonio Spurs fan. He is often seen courtside at Spurs games. 29-30 At the 2000 Democratic National Convention, he gave the nominating speech for his former college roommate, Al Gore, as the Democratic Party's nominee for President of the United States. Joseph Peter Pantoliano, born September 12, 1951, is an American actor who has played over 150 roles across film, television, and theater. 1-2 He is best known for portraying Francis Fratelli in The Goonies, 1985, Captain Conrad Howard in the Bad Boys film series, 1995 to 2024, Cypher in the Wachowskis' sci-fi action film The Matrix, 1999, Teddy in Christopher Nolan's psychological thriller film Memento, 2000, and Ralphie Cifaretto on the HBO crime drama The Sopranos, 2001 to 2004, for which he won a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. Other notable film credits include Risky Business, 1983, Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, 1987, La Bamba, 1987, Midnight Run, 1988, The Fugitive, 1993, Baby's Day Out, 1994, The Wachowskis' directorial debut Bound, 1996, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, 2010. In 2025, he received a Primetime Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series for his performance in The Last of Us. Pantoliano has published 2 memoirs and is active in the field of mental health, having documented his mother's issues and his own. He founded the nonprofit No Kidding, Me Too, which is dedicated to removing the stigma from mental illness. 3. Early life. Joseph Peter Pantoliano was born in Hoboken, New Jersey, on September 12, 1951, the son of Italian-American parents Mary, née Centrella, and Dominic Monk Pantoliano. 5. His mother was a bookmaker and seamstress, while his father was a hearse driver and factory foreman. 6-7 His family moved to Cliffside Park, New Jersey, where he attended Cliffside Park High School. 8 He attended the HB studio and studied extensively under actors Herbert Berghof and John Lenn. 9. Career. Pantoliano aboard USS John F. Kennedy during Fleet Week, 2005. Pantoliano first grew to fame as Guido the Killer Pimp in 1983's Risky Business. In 1985 he appeared as the villainous Francis Fratelli in teen classic The Goonies. He gained fame among a new generation as Cypher in the 1999 landmark sci-fi film The Matrix. He won a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series for the role of Ralph Cifaretto in HBO's The Sopranos. 10. Pantoliano is also known for his role as Eddie Moscone, the foul-mouthed, double-crossing bail bondsman, in the Robert De Niro comedy Midnight Run, as Captain Conrad Howard in Bad Boys, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys, Ride or Die, as double-crossed mafioso Caesar in Bound, as John Teddy Gamble in Memento, and as investigative journalist Ben Urich in Mark Steven Johnson's 2003 Daredevil adaptation. He played Deputy U.S. Marshal Cosmo Renfro in The Fugitive along with Tommy Lee Jones and reprised the role in the sequel U.S. Marshals. In 2003 Pantoliano replaced Stanley Tucci in the Broadway play Frankie and Johnny in the Claire de Lune. In 2012 Pantoliano starred as the eccentric pawnbroker Oswald in the film adaptation of Wendy Mass's popular children's book Jeremy Fink and the Meaning of Life, written and directed by Tomer Halpern. 11 In 2013, he was cast as Yogi Berra in the Broadway production of Bronx Bombers 12 but dropped out during rehearsals due to creative differences. 13. From 2015 to 2018 he played Michael Gorski in the Wachowskis' Netflix series Sense8. In 2025, Pantoliano appeared in the episode The Price in the second season of The Last of Us playing Gale's moribund infected husband Eugene Linden. Despite his limited appearance, his one-scene performance was met with high critical acclaim, earning him a nomination for the Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. 14. Personal life. Pantoliano was married to Morgan Kester from 1979 until they divorced in 1985. He married his second wife, former model Nancy Shepard, in 1994. They have 4 children together, 15 and reside in Wilton, Connecticut. 16 He was introduced to Shepard by actress Samantha Phillips. 17. During his tenure on The Sopranos, Pantoliano struggled to stay anonymous in his native New Jersey. When filming his scenes as Ralph, he prevented the public from recognizing him by wearing a wig based on the hairstyle of filmmaker Christopher Nolan, who had previously directed him in Memento. 18 Pantoliano's use of a wig was later alluded to in the show, with a reveal that his character also wore a wig. 19. On October 9, 2007, Pantoliano announced on the National Alliance on Mental Illness blog that he had been suffering from clinical depression for the past decade, although he was formally diagnosed only recently. He also has dyslexia. He said his 2006 film Canvas helped him come to terms with his depression. 20 Rather than hide his illness from the public, he chose to speak out about it to remove some of the stigma commonly associated with mental illness. He founded a non-profit organization called No Kidding, Me Too, which aims to unite members of the entertainment industry in educating the public about mental illness. 21 The title comes from the response he frequently heard after revealing how mental illness affected him and his family. He directed, wrote, and starred in the documentary No Kidding, Me Too. 2009. 22. Pantoliano is the author of 2 memoirs, Who's Sorry Now?, the true story of a stand-up guy, and Asylum, Hollywood Tales from My Great Depression, Brain Disease, Recovery, and Being My Mother's Son. He revealed in the latter that he struggled with alcoholism, food addiction, sex addiction, and addictions to Vicodin and Percocet before being diagnosed with clinical depression. 23. On May 1, 2020, Pantoliano suffered a concussion and chest trauma when he was hit by a car while walking in his neighborhood. Jeroen Art Krab, Dutch pronunciation, Jeroen Art Krb, born December 5, 1944, is a Dutch actor, film director, and painter with a successful career in both Dutch and English language films. He is best known to international audiences for his leading roles in the Paul Verhoeven film Soldier of Orange, 1977, and The Fourth Man, 1983, for playing the villain General Georgy Koskov in the James Bond film The Living Daylights, 1987, and his parts in The Prince of Tides, 1991, The Fugitive, 1993, and Immortal Beloved, 1994. His 1998 directorial debut, Left Luggage, was nominated for the Golden Bear at the 49th Berlin International Film Festival. Early life. Crabbe was born into an artistic family in Amsterdam. Both his father, Martin Crabbe, and grandfather Hendrik Martin Crabbe were well-known painters, and his mother Margriet, née Rice, 1914 to 2002, was a film translator. His brother, Tim, is a writer and top-level chess player, and his half-brother, Mirko, is an artist. Only later in life did he learn that his mother was Jewish and that her family had been killed during the Holocaust. 2. Career. Jeroen Crabbe in 1980. Crabbe in 1992. Internationally, he first came to prominence in fellow Dutchman Paul Verhoeven's films, Soldier of Orange opposite Rutger Hauer and The Fourth Man with René Soet. His first big American film was the Whoopi Goldberg comedy, Jumpin' Jack Flash. However, it was his roles as villains in a string of international films from the late 1980s and early 1990s which brought him international stardom, with notable roles such as Losadu in No Mercy, 1986, General Georgy Koskov in the James Bond film The Living Daylights, 1987, Johnny Franco in The Punisher, 1989, Herbert Woodruff in The Prince of Tides, 1991, and Dr. Charles Nichols in The Fugitive, 1993. He appeared in numerous TV productions, and as Satan in the TV production Jesus. He was both director and producer of a 1998 film about Orthodox Jews during the 1970s in Antwerp, Belgium, co-starring Isabella Rossellini and Maximilian Schell called Left Luggage, as well as the Harry Mulisch novel adapted into film The Discovery of Heaven. Left Luggage was entered into the 48th Berlin International Film Festival. The following year, he was a member of the jury at the 49th Berlin International Film Festival. 3. His television work included playing an uncanny psychic in the Midsomer Murders series 11 episode Talking to the Dead. Crabbe had an exhibition of his paintings in Museum de Fundetaille, Zwolle, in 2008. He began working on documentaries for Dutch television about his favorite painters. In 2015 the first series was about Van Gogh, followed in 2017 by a series about Picasso, in 2018 about Gauguin and in 2020, about Chagall and in August 2022, about Frida Kahlo. In November 2024 a series about Matisse was broadcast. 456. Personal life. Crabbe married Herma van Gemert in 1964. Together they have 3 sons, Martijn, who is a radio and television presenter, Jasper, and Jacob. Apart from acting and directing, he is an accomplished artist. His paintings have appeared on Dutch postage stamps, and has co-authored a Dutch cookbook. In November 2004, he released the book Schilder, which is an overview of his paintings. Julie Ann Smith, born December 3, 1960, known professionally as Julianne Moore, is an American actress. She is particularly known for her portrayals of emotionally troubled and vulnerable women. Prolific in independent films and blockbusters since the early 1990s, she is the recipient of numerous accolades, including an Academy Award, a BAFTA Award, 2 Emmy Awards, and 2 Golden Globe Awards. She is one of only 2 actresses to win the Best Actress Award at all 3 major European film festivals, Cannes Film Festival, Berlin Film Festival, and the Venice Film Festival. After studying theater at Boston University, she played a regular in the soap opera As the World Turns from 1985 to 1988, earning a Daytime Emmy. Moore made her breakthrough with Robert Altman's ensemble film Short Cuts, 1993, followed by a critically acclaimed performance in Todd Haynes' Safe, 1995. Starring roles in the blockbusters 9 Months, 1995, and The Lost World, Jurassic Park, 1997, established her as a Hollywood leading lady. She received Oscar nominations for her roles as a 1970s pornographic actress in the drama film Boogie Nights, 1997, and emotionally unsatisfied housewives in the period dramas The End of the Affair, 1999, Far From Heaven, 2002, and The Hours, 2002. Moore's career progressed with roles in The Big Lebowski, 1998, Magnolia, 1999, Hannibal, 2001, Children of Men, 2006, A Single Man, 2009, The Kids Are All Right, 2010, Crazy, Stupid, Love, 2011, and Maps to the Stars, 2014. She won a Primetime Emmy for playing Sarah Palin in the HBO film Game Change, 2012, and the Academy Award for Best Actress for her portrayal of an Alzheimer's patient in Still Alice, 2014. Her highest-grossing releases came with the final 2 films in the Hunger Games film series, 2014 to 2015, and the spy film Kingsman: The Golden Circle, 2017. Since then she starred in independent films and streaming projects including Haynes' drama May-December, 2023, the historical drama miniseries Mary and George, 2024, and the black comedy limited series Sirens, 2025. In addition to acting, Moore has written a series of children's books about a character named Freckleface Strawberry. She is married to director Bart Freundlich and they have 2 children. In 2015, Time named her to its 100 most influential people in the world list, and in 2020, the New York Times named her one of the greatest actors of the 21st century. Early life and education. Moore was born Julie Ann Smith on December 3, 1961 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. To her father, Peter Moore Smith III, a paratrooper in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War, attained the rank of colonel and became a military judge. 4-5 Her mother, Anne, née Love 1940 to 2009, 6 was a psychologist and social worker from Greenock, Scotland, who had migrated with her family to the United States in 1951. 3-7. Julianne Moore has a younger sister, Valerie Smith, and a younger brother, the novelist Peter Moore Smith. 3-8-9 Having a Scottish mother, Moore claimed British citizenship in 2011 in honor of her. 2-10. The Huntington Avenue Theatre, formerly of Boston University, where Moore trained to be an actress. Due to her father's occupation, Moore frequently moved around the United States as a child. She was close with her family as a result, but says that she never had the feeling of coming from one particular place. 1-5 The family lived in multiple locations including Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Panama, Nebraska, Alaska, New York, and Virginia, and Moore attended 9 different schools. 11 The constant moving around made her an insecure child, and she struggled to establish friendships. 2-5 In spite of the difficulties, Moore has remarked that an itinerant lifestyle was beneficial to her future career. When you move around a lot, you learn that behavior is mutable. I would change, depending on where I was. It teaches you to watch, to reinvent, that character can change. 12. When Moore was 16, the family moved from Falls Church, Virginia, where Moore was attending J.E.B. Stewart High School, to Frankfurt, West Germany, where she went to Frankfurt American High School. 5-11 She was clever and studious, a self-proclaimed good girl, and she planned to become a doctor. 4 She had never considered performing or even attended the theater. 11 But she was an avid reader, which led her to begin acting in school productions. 1-13 Moore appeared in several plays including Tartuffe and Medea, and with the encouragement of her English teacher, she chose to pursue a theatrical career. 14 Her parents supported her decision, but asked that she train at a university to provide the added security of a college degree. 4. She was accepted into the Boston University College of Fine Arts in Boston and graduated in 1983 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater. 14. Career. Early work and breakthrough, 1985 to 1993. There was already a Julie Smith, a Julie Ann Smith, there was everything. My father's middle name is Moore, my mother's name is Ann. So I just slammed the N onto the Julie. That way, I could use both of their names and not hurt anyone's feelings. But it's horrible to change your name. I'd been Julie Smith my whole life, and I didn't want to change it. Moore explaining why and how she adopted her stage name. 15. Moore moved to Manhattan, New York after graduating and worked as a waitress. 16. After registering her stage name with Actors Equity. 15. She started her career in 1985 off-Broadway. 17. Her first screen role came in 1984, in an episode of the soap opera The Edge of Night. 18. Her break was a year later when she joined the cast of As the World Turns. Playing the dual roles of half-sisters Franny and Sabrina Hughes, she found the intensive work to be an important learning experience, and she said, "I gained confidence and learned to take responsibility." 14. Moore performed on the show until 1988, when she won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Ingenue in a Drama Series. 1920. Before leaving As the World Turns, she had a role in the 1987 CBS miniseries I'll Take Manhattan. 11. Once she finished her contract at World Turns, she played Ophelia in a Guthrie Theatre production of Hamlet opposite Zelko Ivanek. 15. 21. 22. The actress returned intermittently to television over the next 3 years, appearing in the TV movies Money, Power, Murder, 1989, The Last to Go, 1991, and Cast a Deadly Spell, 1991. 23. In 1990, Moore began working with stage director Andrei Gregory on a workshop theater production of Chekhov's Uncle Vanya. Described by Moore as being one of the most fundamentally important acting experiences I ever had. 11. The group took 4 years to explore the text and then give intimate performances to friends. 24. Also in 1990, Moore made her cinematic debut as a mummy's victim in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, a low-budget horror which she later called terrible. 25. 26. Her next film role, in 1992, introduced her to a wide audience. The thriller The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, in which she played the main character's ill-fated friend, was #1 at the US box office, and Moore caught the attention of several critics for her performance. 15. 27. She followed it the same year with the crime comedy The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag, appearing as the protagonist's kooky sister. She continued to play supporting roles throughout 1993, first featuring in the erotic thriller Body of Evidence as Madonna's love rival. The film was panned by reviewers and heavily mocked, and Moore subsequently regretted her involvement, terming it a big mistake. 15. 28. She had greater success in a 1993 romantic comedy with Johnny Depp. In Benny and June, Moore played a gentle waitress who falls for Aidan Quinn's character, Benny. She also appeared briefly as a doctor in one of the year's biggest hits, the Harrison Ford-starring thriller The Fugitive. 15. 29. Filmmaker Robert Altman saw Moore in the Uncle Vanya production and was sufficiently impressed to cast her in his next project, the ensemble drama Short Cuts, 1993, based on short stories by Raymond Carver. Moore was pleased to work with him, as his film Three Women, 1977, gave her a strong appreciation for cinema when she saw it while in college. 30. Playing artist Marian Wyman was an experience she found difficult, as she was a total unknown surrounded by established actors, but this proved to be Moore's breakthrough role. 25. 31. Todd McCarthy called her performance arresting and remarked that her monologue, delivered naked from the waist down, would no doubt be the most discussed scene of the film. 32. Short Cuts was critically acclaimed and received awards for Best Ensemble Cast at the Venice Film Festival and the Golden Globe Awards. Moore received an individual nomination for Best Supporting Female at the Independent Spirit Awards, and the monologue scene earned her a degree of notoriety. 33. 34. Rise to prominence. 1994 to 1997. Shortcuts was one of a trio of successive film appearances which raised Moore's profile. 14 in 1994, Vanya on 42nd Street came out, a filmed version of her ongoing Uncle Vanya workshop production, directed by Louis Malle. 24 Moore's performance of Yelena was called simply outstanding by Time Out 35 and she won the Boston Society of Film Critics Award for Best Actress. 36 Afterwards Moore was given her first leading role, playing an unhappy suburban housewife who develops multiple chemical sensitivity in Todd Haynes' low-budget film Safe, 1995. She had to lose a substantial amount of weight for the role, which made her ill, and she then swore off changing her body for a film again. 37 In its review, Empire, a British magazine, said that Safe first established Moore's credentials as perhaps the finest actress of her generation. 38 David Thompson wrote that it is one of the most arresting, original, and accomplished films of the 1990s. 4. The performance earned Moore an Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Actress. 39 Reflecting on the three roles Moore said, "They all came out at once, and I suddenly had this profile. It was amazing." 14. Moore's next appearance was a supporting role in the comedy drama Roommates, 1995, playing the daughter-in-law of Peter Falk's character. Her next film, 9 Months, 1995, was crucial in establishing her as a Hollywood leading lady. 2. The romantic comedy, directed by Chris Columbus and co-starring Hugh Grant, was poorly reviewed but a box office success. It remains one of her highest-grossing films. 40, 41, 42 In her next release Moore appeared alongside Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas in the thriller Assassins, 1995. Despite a negative response from critics, the film earned $83.5 million worldwide. 43-44 In her sole appearance in 1996, the Merchant Ivory film Surviving Picasso, she played the artist Dora Maar opposite Anthony Hopkins. The period drama met with poor reviews. 45. A key point in her career came when Steven Spielberg cast Moore as paleontologist Dr. Sarah Harding in The Lost World, Jurassic Park, the sequel to his 1993 blockbuster Jurassic Park. 2. Filming the big-budget production was a new experience for Moore and she said she enjoyed herself tremendously. 10. It was a physically demanding role and she commented, "There was so much hanging everywhere. We hung off everything available, plus we climbed, ran, jumped off things, it was just non-stop." 46. The Lost World, 1997, was one of the 10 highest-grossing films in history at the time. 37 And was pivotal in raising Moore's profile. "Suddenly I had a commercial film career," she said. 2. The Myth of Fingerprints was her second film released in 1997. During its production she met her future husband, the movie's director Bart Freundlich. 1. Later in 1997, Moore made a cameo appearance in the dark comedy Chicago Cab. 47. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Moore achieved significant industry recognition. Her first Academy Award nomination came for the critically acclaimed 48 Boogie Nights, 1997, which centers on a group of individuals working in the 1970s pornography industry. Director Paul Thomas Anderson was not a well-known figure before its production, with only one feature credit to his name, but Moore agreed to the film after being impressed with his exhilarating script. 111 The ensemble piece featured Moore as Amber Waves, a leading porn actress and mother figure who longs to be reunited with her real son. Martin Glanville of the BBC said that the role required a mixture of confidence and vulnerability and was impressed with Moore's effort. 49 Time Out called the performance superb. 50 And Janet Maslin of the New York Times found it wonderful. 51 Alongside her Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress, Moore was nominated for Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild Awards and several critics groups gave her awards. Gaining further recognition, 1998 to 2002. Moore played Maud Lebowski in The Big Lebowski, 1998. She is pictured alongside Jeff Bridges, who co-starred in the film, at the 2011 Lebowski Fest at the Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan. Next was a role in the Coen brothers' dark comedy The Big Lebowski, 1998. The film was not a hit at the time of its release but has since become a cult classic. 52 She played Maud Lebowski, a feminist artist and daughter of the eponymous character who becomes involved with the dude, Jeff Bridges, the film's star. At the end of 1998, Moore had a flop with Gus Van Sant's Psycho, a remake of the classic Alfred Hitchcock film of the same name. 26 She portrayed Lila Crane in the film, which received poor reviews 53 and is described by The Guardian as being one of her pointless outings. 37 A review in Box Office magazine bemoaned that a group of enormously talented people wasted several months of their lives working on the film. 54. After reuniting with Robert Altman for the dark comedy Cookie's Fortune, 1999, Moore starred in An Ideal Husband, Oliver Parker's adaptation of the Oscar Wilde play. Set in London at the end of the 19th century, her performance of Mrs. Laura Cheverly earned a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. She was also nominated in the drama category that year for her work in The End of the Affair, 1999. Based on the novel by Graham Greene, Moore played opposite Ralph Fiennes as an adulterous wife in 1940s Britain. Michael Sragow lauded her, writing that her performance was the critical element that makes the film necessary viewing. 55. She received her second Academy Award nomination for the role, her first for Best Actress, as well as nominations at the British Academy Film Awards, BAFTA, and Screen Actors Guild, SAG, Awards. In between the two Golden Globe-nominated performances, Moore was in A Map of the World supporting Sigourney Weaver, as a bereaved mother. 23 Her fifth film of 1999 was the acclaimed drama Magnolia. 56 A giant mosaic chronicling the lives of multiple characters over one day in Los Angeles. 57 Paul Thomas Anderson, in his follow-up to Boogie Nights, wrote a role specifically for her. His primary objective was to see her explode, and he cast her as a morphine-addicted wife. 57 Moore said it was a particularly difficult role and she was rewarded with a SAG nomination. 1139 She was named Best Supporting Actress of 1999 by the National Board of Review, in recognition of her three performances in Magnolia, An Ideal Husband, and A Map of the World. 58. Apart from a cameo in The Ladies' Man, a comedy, Moore's other appearance in 2000 was in a short film adaptation of Samuel Beckett's play Not I. 59 In early 2001, she appeared as FBI agent Clarice Starling in Hannibal, a sequel to the Oscar-winning film The Silence of the Lambs. Jodie Foster had declined to reprise the role, and director Ridley Scott eventually cast Moore over Angelina Jolie, Cate Blanchett, Gillian Anderson, and Helen Hunt. 15 The news received considerable attention from the press, but Moore said she was not interested in nor capable of upstaging Foster. 15 Although it got mixed reviews, 61 Hannibal earned $58 million in its opening weekend and finished as the 10th highest grossing film of the year. 62-63 Moore starred in three more 2001 releases, with David Duchovny in the science fiction comedy Evolution, in her husband's dramatic film World Traveler, and with Kevin Spacey, Judi Dench, and Cate Blanchett in The Shipping News. All three films were poorly received. 64-65-66 The year 2002 marked a high point in Moore's career. 67 as she became the ninth performer to be nominated for 2 Academy Awards in the same year. 68 She received a Best Actress nomination for the melodrama Far From Heaven, in which she played a 1950s housewife whose world is shaken when her husband reveals he is gay. The role was written specifically for her by Todd Haynes, the first time the pair had worked together since Safe, and Moore described it as a very, very personal project, such an incredible honor to do. 69 David Rooney of Variety praised her beautifully gauged performance of a desperate woman buckling under social pressures and putting on a brave face. 70 Manala Dargis of the Los Angeles Times wrote, what Moore does with her role is so beyond the parameters of what we call great acting that it nearly defies categorization. 71 The role won Moore the Best Actress award from 19 different organizations, including the Venice Film Festival and the National Board of Review. Moore's second Oscar nomination that year came for The Hours, in which she co-starred with Nicole Kidman and Meryl Streep. She again played a troubled 1950s housewife, prompting Kenneth Turan to write that she was essentially reprising her Far From Heaven role. 72 Moore said it was an unfortunate coincidence that the similar roles came at the same time, and that the characters had differing personalities. 73 Peter Travers of Rolling Stone called the performance wrenching. 74 While Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian praised a superbly controlled, humane performance. 75 The Hours was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Moore also received BAFTA and SAG Award nominations for Best Supporting Actress, and was jointly awarded the Silver Bear for Best Actress with Kidman and Streep at the Berlin International Film Festival. Established actress, 2003 to 2009. Moore did not make any screen appearances in 2003, but returned in 2004 with 3 movies. Her first 2 ventures of the year were not successful. Marie and Bruce, a dark comedy co-starring Matthew Broderick, did not get a cinematic release. 76 Laws of Attraction followed. Pierce Brosnan also starred in the romantic comedy based in a courtroom. The film was panned by critics. 77 Commercial success for Moore came with The Forgotten, a psychological thriller in which she played a mother who is told her dead son never existed. Although the film was unpopular with critics, it opened as the US box office #1. 78-79. In 2005, Moore worked with her husband for the 3rd time in the comedy Trust the Man 16 and starred in the true story of 1950s housewife Evelyn Ryan in The Prize Winner of Defiance, Ohio. 80 Her first release of 2006 was Freedomland, a mystery co-starring Samuel L. Jackson. The response was overwhelmingly negative. 81 But her follow-up, Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men, 2006, was highly acclaimed. 82 Moore had a supporting role in the dystopian drama, playing the leader of an activist group. It is listed on Rotten Tomatoes as one of the best reviewed films of her career, and was named by Peter Travers as the 2nd best film of the decade. 83-84. Moore at the 2009 Venice International Film Festival. Moore made her Broadway debut in the world premiere of David Hayer's play The Vertical Hour. The production, directed by Sam Mendes and co-starring Bill Nighy, opened in November 2006. Moore played the role of Nadia, a former war correspondent who finds her views on the 2003 invasion of Iraq challenged. 85 Ben Brantley of the New York Times was unenthusiastic about the production, and described Moore as miscast. In his opinion, she failed to bring the tough, assertive quality that her role required. 86 David Rooney of Variety criticized her lack of stage technique, adding that she appeared stiffly self-conscious. 85 Moore later admitted she found it difficult performing on Broadway and had not connected with the medium, but was glad to have experimented with it. 10 The play closed in March 2007 after 117 performances. 87. Moore played an FBI agent for the 2nd time in Next, 2007, a science fiction action film co-starring Nicolas Cage and Jessica Biel. Based on a short story by Philip K. Dick, the response from critics was highly negative. 88 Manala Dargis wrote, Ms. Moore seems terribly unhappy to be here, and it's no wonder. 89. The actress has since said it was her worst film. 8 Savage Grace, 2007, followed, the true story of Barbara Daly Beckland, a high society mother whose Oedipal relationship with her son ended in murder. Moore was fascinated by the role. 31 Savage Grace had a limited release, and received predominantly negative reviews. 1991 Peter Bradshaw, however, called it a coldly brilliant and tremendously acted movie. 92. In I'm Not There, 2007, Moore worked with Todd Haynes for a 3rd time. The film explored the life of Bob Dylan, with Moore playing a character based on Joan Baez. 93. In 2008, she starred with Mark Ruffalo in Blindness, a dystopian thriller from the director Fernando Meirelles. The film was not widely seen, and critics were generally unenthusiastic. 94. 95. Moore was not seen on screen again until late 2009, with 3 new releases. She had a supporting role in The Private Lives of Pippa Lee, and then starred in the erotic thriller Chloe with Liam Neeson and Amanda Seyfried. 23. Shortly afterwards, she appeared in the well-received drama A Single Man. 96. Set in 1960s Los Angeles, the film starred Colin Firth as a homosexual professor who wishes to end his life. Moore played his best friend, a fellow English expat and semi-alcoholic divorcee. 97. A character that Tom Ford, the film's writer-director, created with her in mind. 10. Leslie Fulperin of Variety commented that it was Moore's best role in some time, and was impressed by the extraordinary emotional nuance of her performance. 98. A Single Man was selected as one of the top 10 films of 2009 by the American Film Institute. 99. And Moore received a 5th Golden Globe nomination for her performance in the film. 39. Return to television and comedic films, 2010 to 2013. Moore at the premiere of The Kids Are All Right at the 2010 Berlin International Film Festival. Moore was on television for the first time in 18 years when she played a guest role in the 4th season of 30 Rock. She was in 5 episodes of the Emmy-winning comedy